If you're familiar with the Wings of Fire fandom, you might know about the term Fantribe. For those of you who don't, let me give you a quick overview. I describe a Fantribe as a fan-made dragon species or tribe set in the world of Wings of Fire, whether it be way in the past, far in the future, or somewhere in between. There are a lot of Fantribes out there. I'd even go as far as to say they probably reach the thousands. Like, man, where would I even begin to find a Fantribe to make a character of? Psh, the answer is simple. You. Yeah, if you didn't know, a while ago I asked you to submit a Fantribe of yours that you'd like me to make a character of, and boy did you all deliver. Now that I have a good collection of Fantribes to choose from, here's how the rest of this will go. I will be picking out 10 different Fantribes, tribes that aren't too similar to one another just to get a good range of characters from different backgrounds. Then, to connect them all together, I will implement a couple measures. My own new crazy wacky Fantribe and just a simple theme. You see, I don't really want to create all these characters and then have them separate in their own universes. I think it would be much more fun to have them all interact somehow. So I will just pick these guys out of their own worlds and plop them in an entirely new one with the help of my Fantribe's weird cross-dimensional abilities, which I thought would be a good idea to give them. Haha. Then for a theme, I thought it would be fun to pick one surrounding superheroes and supervillains, or at least the dragon equivalent, just to give them a drive to work together and divide them against each other for drama. What's the dragon equivalent? Oh, don't ask me, ask him. Anyways, let's just start with the heroes. One of the first tribes I decided to pick were the Breezewings, created by Ferocite. They are said to be a nomadic tribe, sticking to groups rather than a kingdom and having a council instead of a designated ruler. Their groups also have different sigils or logos, which is the symbol painted on their wings. Because this tribe sticks in groups, I thought that making the leader of the good guys a Breezewing would give her a natural drive to form bonds and encourage her upcoming allies to stick together. As for the leader herself, I decided to give her the name Twister, based on the wacky twisty sails that loop around her tail. I considered just calling this a funny, silly design choice and calling it a day, but since I was given creative freedom by the tribe's creator, I thought I could just sneak in a fun little ability for her to have. I call it Fire Twister Blast. Twister's tail can catch fire, and she can throw mini fire twisters with enough momentum. And if she spins very fast midair, she can make a big one, which may or may not be good for the environment, but it's cool though, right? But this is just my little headcanon for a fan-made tribe, I'd like to be clear. Twister is an energetic fellow. She loves exploring the unknown and meeting new and interesting dragons and people. She lived in a very small group with her tight-knit family. Unfortunately for her, she was the only one in the group who was not on the older side, so growing up she never had a whole lot of friends her age. Now that she's older, she has a big decision to make. She can either stay and protect her family, whom she loves forever, or she can explore the unknown by herself and hopefully make new friends along the way. It was a very tough decision, but luckily it was made for her. All she did was wander a little bit from camp at night, got lost in a little fog, and then... oh hey look, her design's finished. Her design was a little more on the simpler side, probably because she was the first one I designed, but I still really like how it turned out. I wanted her to have a cooler color palette, so I settled with this weird blue-green color as a base, with pastel yellow accents. I give her a lot of twisty and wispy patterns and shapes to kind of further connect her design to her name. Anyways, on to the next one. The next member of the good guys is a Hollowing named Flint. Hollowings are a tribe created by Camaro Peak, and I think it's safe to say they fall under the cave dragon category. I couldn't go this whole video without making a cave dragon Fantribe design, so here you go. To my understanding, Hollowings are the descendants of another ancient Fantribe called Stonewings. After a kerfuffle with some neighboring kingdoms, the Stonewings were forced underground for their own safety. It was a struggle, but after multiple generations, they had properly evolved to survive underground. Over time, the Hollowings gained long tails to store food, with a couple spikes placed on the tip for sensing the environment around them. Their limbs have adapted to supporting themselves when digging, with their frontmost arms being the primary ones for the task. They can no longer fly, but rather glide with their shortened wingspan. Flint, like the rest of the dragonettes her age, were told stories by the Hollowing elders about the surface world. They told of surface dragons, vast in size and intimidating in stature, ready to gobble up any curious dragonettes who wish to explore the surface. But like any curious dragonette, Flint wanted to know more than just the dangers lurking above. So she snooped and she scrounged for any more tales about the surface. From her findings, she learned about a world covered in vibrant grass with boundless blue skies. A world with no walls. A world with no limits. To say Flint was intrigued would be an understatement. She was obsessed. It became a dream of hers to explore the surface. However, it was haunted by the nightmare of being eaten alive. Her fears and her passions were at constant war with each other until she finally stomped down her fear just enough to peek. That's all she would do. Sneak past the guards and make her way up to the surface just for a glimpse at the fabled fields of grass and the endless skies. If it was a world she could not be a part of, she at least wanted to see it before living out her days in these lonesome caverns. Her plan was going so well, but to avoid being seen by a passing patrol, she took a swift detour into a tunnel clouded with thick dust. Just as she exited the thick dust cloud, she found herself all completed! Look, she's all done! When I finished her colors, I realized I kinda gave her a Moonwatcher looking palette, but you know, it's fine. You can't even tell the resemblance if you squint. Anywho, I generally wanted to give her a darker color palette. I originally intended to give her bluish gray accents, but green just felt like it would stand out better. I also made her rock-like embeds very dark and jagged, like a piece of flint. This Fantribe is actually one that was inspired by one of the hybrids I created in my hybrid series, Acantho. They are called Aloe wings, created by Clayteeth, a cactus-looking tribe that lives in various areas surrounding the town of Possibility. I thought it would be funny to pick this Fantribe considering I'm making a design of a Fantribe who was inspired by a different design I made, so it's coming full circle. There are actually 4 different variants of the Aloe wings, who are categorized into different houses, all with slightly differing abilities and culture. But for simplicity, I'll just be covering one, the variant belonging to House Trinita, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. House Trinita is said to be the most populous of the bunch, being the descendants of Icewings and Sandwings who wanted to settle beside the ruins of the Great Ice Cliff. They are a resilient tribe with spiky plated scales and extensions on their feet for gripping snowy or sandy terrain. Perhaps the most unique thing about this tribe is their tails. They are born tailless, but each year they grow another row of spiky plates. They have the ability to extend spear-like appendages from the ends of these plates, which they could either launch with enough momentum or take out and throw like a regular old spear. This Aloe wing I'm designing right here is quite competitive when it comes to spear throwing. His name is Odonto, and he has very recently been kicked out of his spine-tossing team. Right before the final competition, might I add. He is beyond pissed. He is furious. I mean, sure, he might not always listen to instruction, and sure, he might have lost them a few matches due to his creative improvisation, but that was just a few mistakes. Not enough to boot him from the team. Can't work in a team, they said. Well, he'll surely show them. To cope, he isolated himself. He wandered to his usual training spot, a rocky flat terrain where he had posted up a few targets. He trained and trained, even when exhaustion got the better of him. When the signs of a dust storm approached, he still kept throwing spears, some missing, some striking. It became hard to see the ground in front of him, but when the storm passed, the targets were gone, almost as if they had never existed. Anywho, here's Danto's finished design. As you can see, I changed the salmon-colored parts to look a little more peach because the former color just wasn't vibing with me. Also, I think I made the extensions on his heels too high. I think they should be lower to his toes, but it's whatever, it's okay. Moving on. The next member to join the good side is a Shellwing, a Fantribe by Comwolf. They live in the darker and deeper areas of the ocean, so they have night vision and markings that can faintly glow to better live in such areas. Additionally, they have developed a unique sign language and bubble Morse code to communicate with their fellow Shellwings. For some background, this tribe was believed to be extinct due to their fossilized shell remnants occasionally washing up on shore. In reality, long ago, their tribe had narrowly survived a massacre caused by many daughters and nieces of their late queen fighting over the throne. Many Shellwings fled the scene, scattering across the ocean, scared to pledge their allegiance to one royal out of fear of being killed by another. Nowadays, their tribe remains a broken society, but they seem to have the help of the neighboring mainland tribes as a means to reconnect once again. After being rediscovered, their connection to the mainland has strengthened. They had established trade with the other tribes, and their new queen was finally given serious royal duties, one of which was monitoring the Shellwing activity of those who travel to the surface. There was one Shellwing in particular who had quite a fondness for the surface, and her name was Orion, the one being designed here. She attended a school on the surface that was quite similar to Jade Mountain Academy. She was one of the first Shellwings to ever enroll there, and the other students were absolutely blown away by her. She was a Shellwing. They had never seen one before. It's safe to say that she became very popular very quickly. The fame also got to her head very quickly. Finally, a group of dragons who she didn't need to prove anything to be liked. She didn't need those defining Shellwing stripes, nor did she need to be smart or skilled. She could just be. But all good things come to an end, sooner than Orion would be prepared for. An Icewing, scales as pristine as diamonds and as white as pearls, enrolled in the same school as Orion and quickly stole the scene. Not only was she beautiful, she was a talented fighter. She bested Orion in every battle, despite Orion being physically stronger than her. It was humiliating, and Orion had had enough. Orion traveled to a lake where she knew her rival would be lingering, but on her way there, she found herself in a thick cloud of fog. On the other side of the fog, Orion found the lake, but her rival was nowhere to be seen. And here's Orion's finished design. She was loosely based on a purple shore crab, hence the white spots and no stripes. The no stripes was genuinely just an honest mistake, but hey, it makes for some good internal turmoil, am I right or am I right? The final member of the hero group is a Slugwing, a tribe created by Bean the Awkward Artist. Slugwings don't seem to have a single kingdom that rules them all, but rather multiple kingdoms or groups that are set in different places. They all vary in how they function, as some have queens and some have councils or elected leaders, but overall they are said to be very artistic, with different societies specializing in different art forms. This fragile tribe lives around the oceans surrounding Pantala, but don't let their soft appearance deceive you. Slugwings have a toxic coat of slime that covers their entire body, making them dangerous to the touch. Their slime coat also doubles as a means of keeping their scales hydrated on land, because if they go without water for too long, their scales can eventually dry up, and the slugwing could risk death. Luckily, this slugwing has gotten land travel all figured out. His name is Sol, and he's a traveling herbalist. I originally wanted to name him Sun, as in Sun Coral, but Sol just sounds cooler, so that's what we're going with. Sol wears a cowl or blanket of moss around his body, which is constantly damp with water. It doesn't cover him entirely, but it can at least keep him covered for longer periods of time. It also doubles as protection for other dragons, just in case they happen to bump into him on accident. As for Sol himself, he used to live in a comparatively smaller society off the west coast of Pantala. Unlike his companions and tribe mates, he never had quite the talent for art, but rather found fulfillment through herbalism and medicinary. It was somewhat of an art form in and of itself, he thought, but his tribe mates couldn't see what he saw in it. To learn more about medicine and perhaps better help those in need, Sol departed from his home and swam west until he ended up in the shores of the Rainforest Kingdom. From there, he had traveled to many other places in Pyria, learning a lot about his chosen practice and meeting a lot of dragons who shared a similar excitement about it. It was a little lonely, traveling the continent all by himself, but at least he felt like he was helping dragons much more than he ever could have at home. Home. Was he feeling homesick? You know what? No. He's being much more productive this way. He's helping more dragons this way. They probably already forgot about him back there. At some point, Sol caught word of some sick dragons in the Mudwing Kingdom who needed some help, but before he could even get there, a storm rolled in. Thick fog consumed the horizon, and clouded his vision so much that he didn't feel safe moving. He decided to wait it out, and when the fog passed, he was somewhere he had never seen before. And finishing off the heroes, here's Sol's finished design. He was based on this orange sea slug that I found that I cannot find the name for the life of me, but it's this one, he looks like this one, it's there. He also gets 2 images to show how his cowl falls down when his wings are folded. I couldn't go this whole video without picking a spider-looking tribe, so the first character to join this villain team is a Weavewing, created by Aurora the Fox. Weavewings are said to be a small and elusive tribe living in the darker areas of Pantala's forests. They can spin silk from their wrists or the tip of their tail. Alongside that, they have specialized appendages underneath their wings to help manipulate the shape of their webs, or even aid in trapping prey. They have poisonous spines on their chin, used for stabbing prey and enemies alike. They are also exceptional climbers, with adhesive pads on their talons helping them earn that title. Despite the Weavewings being a seemingly group-oriented tribe, Velvet, the design drawn here, saw no pride in teamwork. She was often alone and isolated, spiteful and hostile for seemingly no reason. What her tribe mates didn't know about, or rather didn't understand, was the source of all Velvet's spite and anger. You see, she had a brother once, one of whom she cared for deeply. When she caught word that he had fallen for none other than a princess of their tribe, Velvet became worried. It is a long-known Weavewing tradition for queens to consume their husbands after producing hairs, and Velvet continuously warned her brother about this. He didn't heed her warnings, nor did he care about the tradition. He said he loved her, and that's all that mattered to him. So when he died, Velvet grew to spite the royals. Due to her antisocial nature, her fellow tribemates were not surprised when she completely disappeared. What they didn't know was that she was transported to another world altogether. Through the use of some strange magic, Velvet found herself on a Pantala she didn't know. standing in front of an unfamiliar dragon who towered over her. Skipping over some unnecessary details, Velvet had eventually made a deal with this dragon, which convinced her to join the dragon's side. Velvet's job working under this dragon was to be a trapper. For some unexplained reason, unfamiliar dragons keep finding a way into this empty world, the world that belonged to Velvet's new boss. It was up to Velvet to capture them, and if they were determined to be of no use, she was also in charge of disposing of them. At some point, Velvet was given a partner to help her with her task, who is perhaps the most ferocious of the group, but we'll get to him in a bit. In the meantime, have Velvet's finished design. She was based on this so-called Joker spider, which I won't share an image of here, but you can just search it up for yourself if you want to see it. Basically, it influenced her white stripes and the red that runs along her back. Also, I didn't know if in this reference the Weavings had spikes on both sides of their hands, or if that was just a mistake, so I just gave Velvet 2 thumbs and 3 fingers, like a backwards koala. Velvet's partner and the most dangerous member on the villain team is an antwing named Crumb. Antwings are a small, almost horse-sized tribe created by Kelvin Cryo. They live in intricately created tunnels with differing areas dedicated for different functions, such as for schools or royalty. They often serve passionately under a single queen and are generally quite a peaceful tribe. They cannot fly for long periods of time, but they can create a loud whirring sound with their wings to warn others of potential threats. Their fangs also hold a weak poison that leaves rashes or blisters until treated. I wasn't really kidding when I said that Crumb was a member to Beware. Although he is pleasant in every shape and form, the one thing that makes him stand out is his venom. His fangs pack an unnaturally powerful venom akin to that of a bullet ant. An unpleasant accident made him discover this, and said unpleasant accident had him exiled from his tribe. All Crumb really wanted was a place of belonging, and to meet others who he can dedicate himself to. So when he had encountered a dragon who said she could give that to him, he took that opportunity, ignoring the repercussions. He was paired with Velvet to help her with her traps. He constantly tried being friendly to her, but he was only met with hostile remarks. Over time, they got used to each other, and over time, Crumb began to see the cracks in Velvet's walls. At this point, he knew that what they were doing was wrong, but he held hope in the dragons that accepted him, that they could change, especially in Velvet. So here's Crumb's complete design. I gave him a lemon-inspired color palette as well as some hoof claw things instead of stubby arms and legs because I just didn't think that'd look great in my style. Also, his eyes get bigger every time you're not looking anyway. This next fan tribe is one that has to be one of my genuine favorites. Pickle Wings, created by Bean0215. Pickle Wings are a tribe that had fled underground after a long war with their rival tribe, the Catwings. It was all caused by Pickle Wings suddenly appearing in the Catwings palace, and their sudden appearance scared the queen so badly, she, jumped out a window. However, this all happened long ago. There is no evidence of these tribes' existence nowadays, so surely all the dust has settled, right? Right? Anywho, this picklewing here is named Gherkin, which I believe is a type of pickle. He was a soldier of war turned mercenary after the Pickle Wings had fled underground. He wasn't about to hide like the rest of his tribe. He wanted to fight the Catwings to avenge his fallen comrades. Despite holding a lot of fury towards the Catwings, he knows when he doesn't stand a chance. Instead of facing them head-on, he put himself up for hire. He knew that royalty was petty enough to kill dragons they didn't like through the use of mercenaries. So if he could get in with the royals, he could have a chance of taking out the Catwings once and for all. Unfortunately, his plans fell through, and it left Gherkin greatly scarred. But if it weren't for this, he would have never met his new boss. You could probably guess where I'm going with this now. A mysterious dragon from another world recruited Gherkin to join her empire. In exchange, she promised Gherkins the means to rid of the Catwing royals forever, as long as he just did whatever she said. While Chrome and Velvet take a more discreet approach to capturing stray dragons, Gherkin is much more direct. And by that I mean he just gets them straight up. He's strong and big enough to handle any dragon that comes his way, so he does just that. He's also an exceptional tracker, so he can hunt any target if needs be. Also, he has kind of a rivalry going on with the upcoming Fantribe because he reminds him of a certain nemesis of his. And here's his final design. I thought it would be funny to make this guy like the coolest and strongest of the group. He's got a scar over one eye as well as heterochromia. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but I gave him a funny little bite mark on his neck just cause, you know, he's a pickle, a type of edible food, haha. Ha, I'm hilarious, ha. Up next is a tribe called Whisker Wings, created by Red. They are the designated fluffy tribe out of all of these tribes so far. The Whisker Wings, if you couldn't guess already, have whiskers used for sensing the environment around them. They sport retractable claws for climbing, as well as eyes perfectly attuned to seeing in the dark. This tribe is also said to have a good sense of echolocation and electric signals. Due to the Whisker Wings' complex culture, I'll only be going over a portion of their general lifestyle, but essentially, they are a tribe that lives in packs. The packs are led by pack leaders, and the pack leaders are overseen by special dragons called Wanderers, who look over the packs residing in different territories. The Wanderers are also in charge of defending their territory's borders, as they are said to be very distrustful and unkind to other tribes. Wanderers are kind of advisors to their queen as well, carrying over any complaints or concerns of the pack leaders over to her. The Whisker Wing here always wanted to be a wanderer. Such an important role, probably reserved for the best and brightest of Whisker Wings. He wanted to be the best and brightest there ever was, so he pushed himself to be just that. Unfortunately, trying to get himself to be seen isn't the same as improving his own skills. He is a jealous dragon, and often sabotaged his fellow pack members as a dragonette to make himself look better. It didn't work, and dragons caught on pretty quickly as to what he was trying to do. Nowadays, he remains the trickster, the fool, the hopeless one. Nobody expects anything but tricks from him, and he doesn't do anything but that. Fine, if he can't be known as the best or brightest, he might as well be known for something, and if it has to be the trickster, then so be it. Luckily, he didn't have to remain the trickster for long. It's the same old story. He gets recruited by an unfamiliar dragon, and he serves under her loyally. Not only did she promise him an important title and role, but she saw him as worthy to join her empire. Now, if that's not something to be loyal over, then he doesn't know what is. This guy acts mainly as a tracker for tracking stray dragons that appear in this world. He has worked with both Gherkin and the trapping team, but neither of them really appreciate him like he thinks their boss does. So he thinks they're just a waste of time. He has a rivalry with Gherkin though, as he is also an exceptional tracker. He keeps urging the big boss to allow him to be a mercenary so he can attempt to one-up him in fighting. but he begrudgingly accepts her decision to keep him as a tracker. Also, this tribe can be named after things like sounds, so I thought it would be fun to let the folks on my Discord server pick a name for him unknowingly. So, the following chaos ensued. Guys, no time to explain. Name a sound. Onomatopoeia.
Does it feel good?
My final pick was going to be Chirp, but the demons won, so I named him Crash. But anyways, here's his final design. He was inspired by a lion, hence the fluffier neck and tail tuft. He was one of my favorites to draw just because he was so fluffy, and I'm also happy with his anatomy. Okay, moving on. And finally, the big boss herself. An Algae Wing, a Fantribe created by Elliot Zephyr. Algae wings are described to be fully aquatic, despite being able to breathe air. They lack the hind legs that would help them traverse the land, and their wings have turned into broad fins along their back for quicker swimming. Despite having dull-colored eyes, their vision is perfectly fine. For the dark at least, they are very sensitive to the light however. They sport markings that glow constantly, and the females exhibit a lure on their head. This Algae Wing, originally named Rapid, wasn't always so spiteful. She tried to make do with what she had, but couldn't help but be jealous of what the land dragons had. They could walk, they could fly, they could explore and interact with the parts of the world she never could. She was born with a pair of lungs to breathe air, and yet never had the means to traverse the places where she could breathe it. It filled her with sorrow and jealousy, but all she could do was watch the land from the shoreline. It's something she often did, watch the beach, see if any land dragons felt like camping there, or just visited to feel the sand between their claws. One day, a very unfamiliar dragon visited that beach, and their meeting would change the course of both their lives forever. But let's not get into that right now, haha. Through the mystery dragon in her past, she managed to gain the means to travel worlds and travel the land. She found an alternate world that was completely devoid of all dragon life and human life for that matter. She would use this world to shape an empire meant to bring dragons together. Kinda cliche, but hey, that's what a day of designing and brainstorming will get ya. Unfortunately, because of the way she recklessly structured this world, the power that brought her here is also unintentionally bringing other dragons from different worlds here. All they have to do is inconveniently pass through specific thick haze or dust, and they will be brought here. These stray dragons, also simply called strays, have formed a small rebellion of survivors who hope to be brought back home. Others have found it more convenient to join Rapid rather than fight against her, as fighting her has only been met with terrible consequences. The rebels have given her the name Grimhaze, a name that Rapid gladly adopted. And here's her finished design. You'll see that she has a pair of red glasses as well as a funny little torso thing, necklace, I don't know what to call it. The glasses are mostly for her sensitive eyes, as she would probably be absolutely blinded by the sunlight, or any light for that matter. And the necklace, it's probably enchanted, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. Phew, that was a lot, but we're not done yet. Yeah, I'm throwing my own hat into the ring and making my own fan tribe. I think this video is gonna be long enough, so I'll leave most of the details about them in their own designated document. So for now, you can learn about them through this next character, Days. Days is a dragon from the tribe Bewilder, a mysterious tribe that doesn't reside in any known terrain on Pyria or Pantala, but instead one in a completely different realm, simply called the Haze. The Haze is an abstract world prominently covered in dark gray cliffs, rocky terrain, and bright red foliage. It is always cloudy and the skies are always gray. The stars cannot be seen in this world, and the nights are darker than dark. The Bewilderwings, however, have evolved to properly fit their obscure environment. They primarily live in rocky and jagged terrain, so their underbellies are the most protected part of them. They have rows of spikes along their forearms and hind legs to help with traction on the rocky surface, as well as a hooked-shaped claw on the end of their tail to hang from cliffs. The fan on their heads, sides, and tails are mostly decorative at this point, as there is no real threats in the haze, but they could be used for making tight turns in the obstacle-ridden terrain during flight. The weirdest thing about the Bewilderwings is their ability to travel between realms, the overworld and the haze. All Bewilderwings exhibit this ability and can be used at any time, as long as they have the energy. They can breathe a big cloud of hot steam that they can pass through to get from one realm to the other. This ability, and the haze itself, is said to be created by an animus dragon from long ago, as there is no way this is just an ability that Mother Nature would be handing out on her own. But to add to the absurdity that comes with this tribe, some Bewilderwings can be born with the ability to travel to entirely different worlds. This is where Days comes in. He was just an unruly young animus dragon wanting to learn how to use his teleportation ability fast. He wanted to explore, he wanted to see the world. He couldn't wait, so against an adult's better judgment, he traveled in secret. He was amazed by the overworld and had a good kick out of it. But when he finally decided it was time to go home, he couldn't. Time and time and time again he traveled through worlds he didn't know. Worlds that didn't have the haze, worlds where Bewilderwings didn't even exist. For years, he continued this cycle. He constantly exhausted himself by doing this, but he couldn't stop until he got home. He had to get home. He didn't know what or who he would be if he couldn't find the place he once knew. What kind of dragon would he be if he couldn't belong to a tribe? Despite his frustration, he can't say he didn't improve. He knew how to travel between worlds where he's been before. He was just too young to remember how to get back home. One fateful day, he took a break in one world to recollect himself. He glided down to an empty beach and unexpectedly met a dragon who would change his life forever. Her name was Rapid, and she took interest in the strange dragon who showed up on her shores. Their personalities just clicked with each other, and they became very close over the years. But how their relationship fell so far from where it once was is a mystery. What is known now is few, but it was obvious that Rapid took advantage of Days at some point, using his power to build a so-called perfect world. His stance is unknown, as he is kept safely away from commotion in a place that only Rapid knows. So yeah, that's Days, more of a MacGuffin character than anything, but it helps me bring all these characters together. You can find out more about him, the Bewilder Wings, and all of these characters for that matter on their Toyhouse, links in the description. Bewilder Wings are an open tribe, so feel free to make one if you want. You can do whatever you want, I guess. Make them hybrids, put them in your own worlds, I don't care. I love to see what creative things you guys do with them. So there, 11 whole fan tribes all designed and characterized out. I honestly had such a fun time creating them, writing about them, and designing them. There are so many things I would like to say about them, but this video is becoming way longer than I anticipated, so I'll save my words for their Toyhouse pages. Thank you all for watching. I'd like to do another one of these in the future, as there were a good bunch of designs that I would have loved to draw but couldn't fit in this video. Don't expect this to become a 10-part series or anything though, haha. This took way longer to make than those hybrid videos. But yeah, thanks again, and I'll see ya when I see ya. See ya. I honestly had such a time. I had such a good time. It was so fun, it was so great. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you in the next video.